Think the past is settled and agreed on by everyone? Today we open 39 cases people still fight about. From JFK in Dallas to MH370 vanishing, nothing's off limits. I'll show the evidence fast, then leave you the verdict. Watch the frames, retrace the radar, and follow missing footprints. If you stay, you'll see myths crack and new doubts form. Why Roswell changed stories. Why Dyatlov's tent ripped from inside. Why the moon landing proof stacks higher than the rumors. Stick around because one case will flip your favorite explanation. JFK assassination. Single bullet theory or second shooter. A president dies in Dallas and America keeps replaying frames. November 1963, Dealey Plaza. The motorcade turns, shots crack across downtown. Abraham Zapruder's home movie freezes the moment, frame by frame. Police arrest Lee Harvey Oswald. He denies everything inside headquarters. 2 days later, Jack Ruby shoots Oswald on live television. The Warren Commission says Oswald alone, introducing the infamous single bullet. House investigators later raise conspiracy possibilities based on disputed acoustics. Witnesses mention a grassy knoll, echoes, and oddly timed movements. Declassified files trickle out for decades, never fully ending the debate. Apollo 11 moon landing. Historic fact or elaborate hoax? A flag on dusty regolith becomes humanity's televised giant leap. July 1969. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin land in Mare Tranquillitatis. Millions watch Saturn V triumph while Cold War stakes hang overhead. Skeptics later point at shadows, flags, and supposedly missing stars. Scientists answer with physics, harsh light, exposure settings, and glare. Lunar rocks show isotopes and micrometeorite impacts unlike Earth's. Retroreflectors left by missions bounce lasers back to observatories. Third-party tracking stations followed Apollo signals across continents in real time. Footprints still rest undisturbed on a silent, airless plain. Roswell, 1947. Weather balloon explanation or alien crash cover-up. A strange debris field near Roswell turns New Mexico into legend. Summer, 1947. Rancher Mac Brazel finds foil, sticks, and odd rubber. An Army press release mentions a recovered disc, then swiftly retracts. Officials later cite Project Mogul balloons tracking Soviet nuclear tests. Witnesses recall unusual memory metal, strange symbols, and hurried military convoys. Hangar whispers, sealed crates, and inconsistent statements fuel suspicions. Decades bring confessions, retractions, and souvenir fragments under glass. Investigators map timelines, interview airmen, and parse changing official language. Roswell's desert still carries echoes of headlines that refused silence. Princess Diana's death. Tragic accident or something more sinister? A Paris car crash leaves a princess, a city, and questions. August 1997. Pont de l'Alma Tunnel. A Mercedes speeds past photographers. Driver Henri Paul loses control. Impact shreds metal and lives. Emergency crews fight the clock. The hospital battle ultimately fails. British and French investigations examine speed, alcohol, and paparazzi pressure. CCTV gaps, tunnel conditions, and seatbelt use sustain lingering doubts. Rumors swirl around security services, relationships, and conflicting testimony. Details: inquests return unlawful killing, citing reckless driving and aggressive pursuit. Flowers at Kensington Palace showed grief that hardened into permanent scrutiny. Area 51. Secrets. Experimental aircraft program or extraterrestrial tech. A patch of Nevada desert becomes the world's most famous secrecy magnet. The Groom Lake runway hosts prototypes hidden from curious civilian eyes. Cold War projects tested U-2 and A-12 reconnaissance at impossible altitudes. Pilots reported strange lights. Black projects explain many nighttime sightings. Employees signed silence agreements, commuting through the airbase by unmarked jets. Declassified maps acknowledged the site decades after rumors saturated television. Engineers whisper about radar cross-sections, exotic fuels, and stealthy inlets. Former workers describe security checkpoints, badge colors, and strict compartmentalization rules. UFO talk thrives where official answers arrive half, late, or redacted. D.B. Cooper skyjacking. Who escaped into the night and how? A man leaps from a Boeing 727 and vanishes into rain. Thanksgiving week, 1971. He hijacks Northwest Flight 305 from Portland. He collects ransom cash, demands parachutes, and orders a slow route. Somewhere over Washington, the rear stairs drop into cold darkness. The money's serial numbers later surface sporadically along riverbanks. Investigators chase suspects named Cooper, Christensen, Rackstraw, and a dozen others. The tie clip, cigarette butts, and particles tease lab analysts. Search parties comb forests, pastures, and logging roads without closure. Each anniversary, amateur sleuths rework flight tracks and wind shear estimates. Amelia Earhart's disappearance, crash and sink theory, or island castaway. A global icon radios for help, then silence grips the Pacific. July 1937, Earhart and navigator Fred Noonan approach Howland Island. Low fuel, spotty radio direction, and cloud cover complicate navigation. Coast Guard cutter Itasca hears fragments that never resolve coordinates. Search planes scan endless ocean. No confirmed wreckage appears then. Later, Tinian, Saipan, and Nikomaroro stories seed competing scenarios. Islanders describe found artifacts. A skeleton report deepens persistent speculation. Photographs, aluminum grandchildren, and navigation notes inspire new expeditions periodically. Across decades, her courage flies, while her final hours keep distance. Dyatlov Pass mystery. Avalanche. Military tests, or something else. 9 hikers die in Russia's Urals, sparking theories stranger than snow. February 1959. Igor Dyatlov's group abandons their tent from inside. Rescuers find bodies scattered, some with injuries, some missing clothing. Weather turns vicious. Katabatic winds and slab avalanches enter explanations. Others suspect parachute mines, secret tests, or contaminated stove fumes. Cameras capture playful camp moments that sharpen the story's contrast. Orange spheres in the sky get mentioned in later recollections. Recent studies model plausible small avalanches triggered by shallow slopes. Still, the torn tent under Kolat's cycle keeps imaginations running. Tunguska event. Comet, asteroid, or an earthly explosion. A Siberian morning erupts, flattening forests like matchsticks for miles. June 1908. A fireball flashes over the Podkamenia Tunguska River. Witnesses describe shockwaves, searing heat, and sky-wide glowing nights. Expeditions arrive years later, finding scorched trees but no crater. Scientists propose an airburst by a stony or icy visitor. Alternative ideas range from swamp gas to exotic, unsupported hypotheses. Tree rings record stress. Butterfly patterns reveal blast-centered debates. Satellite-era models reproduce devastation using mid-air fragmentation physics. The taiga's silence leaves an imprint louder than clear answers. Jack the Ripper. Which suspect still fits best today? A string of murders terrorizes Whitechapel and births enduring true crime lore. Autumn 1888. London's East End sees brutal killings of vulnerable women. Police flood alleys. Letters taunt investigators with chilling bravado. Suspects include Montague Druitt, Aaron Kosminski, and Michael Ostrog. Modern forensics tried DNA from envelopes, shawls, and fading evidence. Context matters. Overcrowding, poverty, and fear shaped streets and rumors. Newspapers amplify panic, selling columns filled with theories and sketches. Tours trace nighttime routes past gas lamps and former lodging houses. The name remains infamous, while the identity stubbornly refuses closure. Zodiac Killer Identity, Cipher Breakthroughs, or Endless Misdirection. A masked figure writes cryptic letters, daring California to catch him. Late 1960s, Bay Area attacks connect through symbols and messages. He sends ciphers. Citizens and professors tackle grids and patterns. One long unsolved cipher is solved decades later by international codebreakers. Suspects range widely, from teachers to loners with coincidental habits. Handwriting analyses argue both ways, never sealing a courtroom case. Surviving victims describe details that guide composites and timelines carefully. Evidence boxes hold swabs, stamps, and faded clothing under lock. Police files grow heavier, while the signature circle cross stays unforgettable. Loch Ness Monster, optical illusions, or an unknown creature? A shadow on Scottish water turns into tourism and sonar sweeps. Since early accounts, Loch Ness yields waves, wakes, and strange shapes. The famous surgeon's photo later collapses under admitted model tricks. Researchers map thermoclines, boat wakes, and windy surface refractions carefully. Modern teams drag multi-beam sonar across deep basins for anomalies. Eel DNA appears in water samples, prompting cautious, intriguing chatter. Locals recall hump sightings near Urquhart Castle on gray mornings. Skeptics highlight logs, seals, and pareidolia fooling hopeful observers. The loch keeps secrets in peat dark depths and stubborn legend. Bigfoot sightings, hoaxes, misidentifications, or a primate population. Footprints in North American forests launch documentaries and spirited campfire debates. The Pacific Northwest features prominently, with dense evergreen cover everywhere. Hair samples and casts circulate, challenging labs with limited material. Some prints show dermal ridges, others reveal obvious wooden feet. The Patterson-Gimlin film near Bluff Creek remains endlessly analyzed, frame-wise. Biologists note absent bones, roadkills, or clear habitat evidence patterns. Witness maps cluster along logging roads and river corridors regionally. Thermal cameras catch shapes that evaporate under closer daylight scrutiny. Each new howl recording reignites curiosity, then fades without decisive proof. Bermuda Triangle, dangerous weather patterns, or paranormal hotspot? Ships and planes vanish on maps, drawing lines across Atlantic charts. The Miami, Bermuda, Puerto Rico Triangle gathers decades of sensational headlines. Meteorologists point to microbursts, waterspouts, and sudden squall lines exploding. Navigation errors multiply where magnetic quirks and human fatigue intersect. Flight 19's training mission becomes the mystery's recurring opening chapter. Search craft also disappear, compounding fear during the post-war period. Shipping records show traffic volume and storms, explaining many incidents. Oceanographers map methane seeps, rogue waves, and powerful Gulf Stream currents. The triangle persists mostly on paper, not in official registries. Malaysia Airlines MH370, what truly happened to the flight? A modern airliner disappears, and radar screens lose a large blip. March 2014, MH370 departs Kuala Lumpur for Beijing, then turns unexpectedly. Military radar and satellite pings sketch an arc over the Indian Ocean. Search zones shift repeatedly as drift analyses update debris predictions. Confirmed fragments wash ashore on Réunion, Mozambique, and Madagascar beaches. Investigators consider hijacking, fire, hypoxia, and deliberate flight toward emptiness. Families push for renewed sonar sweeps across trenches and fracture zones. Air traffic recordings, maintenance logs, and cargo manifests face microscope scrutiny. The ocean scale keeps secrets longer than most patience can hold. The Mary Celeste, abandonment mystery with competing theories. An empty ship drifts the Atlantic, cargo intact, crew simply gone. In late 1872, the Dei Gratia finds Mary Celeste abandoned. Captain Benjamin Briggs, his family, and crew vanish without a struggle. The galley's food sits undisturbed. The lifeboat is missing entirely. A chronometer, sextant, and papers disappear, suggesting hurried but organized departure. Rumors blame seaquakes, alcohol fumes, or an accidental pump misreading. Salvage hearings in Gibraltar raise eyebrows, then end without clear answers. Later novels invent mutiny, sea monsters, and other dramatic distractions. The real silence is mundane. Calm waves, folded clothes, unanswered logbooks. Stonehenge's purpose: temple, calendar, healing site, or something else? Great stones cast shadows on Salisbury Plain, inviting guesses with centuries. Archaeologists date phases across millennia, moving blue stones from distant Welsh quarries. Summer solstice sunrises align through the heel stone with haunting precision. Some propose a ceremonial center linking cremations, ancestors, and processional avenues. Others see a prehistoric observatory predicting risings, settings, and eclipses carefully. Traces of pig feasts and post holes paint winter gatherings and rites. Healing stone ideas hinge on bluestone folklore and clustered injuries nearby. Laser scans read tool marks, repair plugs, and subtle recarvings patiently. Stonehenge keeps multiple functions possible, shifting with each new trench opened. Great Pyramid construction: straight ramps, spirals, levers, or lost tech. A mountain of limestone rises for Khufu, defying intuition and patience. Old Kingdom crews quarry blocks at Tura and Aswan with copper. Sledges, water-lubricated sand, and lever teams move burdens toward Giza's plateau. Quarry marks, mason graffiti, and workers' villages anchor the logistics story. Engineers debate straight ramps, zigzags, or wrapping spirals around the core. Internal relieving chambers above the king's chamber distribute crushing weight cleverly. The so-called air shafts align toward circumpolar stars and symbolic heavens. Modern surveys find micro-precision in leveling, despite simple tools and calendars. Lost tech claims fade beside bakery ovens, beer jars, and payroll tallies. Shroud of Turin: medieval forgery or authentic burial cloth? A faint negative image on linen ignites both devotion and skepticism. The cloth surfaces in medieval France, later venerated in Turin's cathedral. Radiocarbon tests in 1988 date fibers to medieval centuries confidently. Supporters argue contamination, repair patches, or smoke skewed the dating sample. Bloodstain patterns, pollen grains, and scourge-like marks become contested forensic battlegrounds. Photographic negatives reveal striking facial depth, fueling claims of unique formation. Scientists propose chemical reactions from a decomposing body under controlled conditions. Others test scorch, pigment, and vapor models with mixed, intriguing results. The linen remains a canvas for belief, testing, and careful caveats. Voynich manuscript: encoded genius, medical manual, or elaborate hoax? Strange plants, star charts, and nymphs crowd parchment nobody can read. The book appears in early modern Europe, later reaching Yale's library. Its unknown script shows letter-like patterns, friendships, and linguistic rhythms, oddly. Cryptanalysts attack with statistics, ciphers, and computers, still lacking a key. Some pages resemble herbal pharmacology. Others lean astronomical, balneological, and anatomical. Radiocarbon dating places the vellum in the early 1400s timeframe. Proposals range from invented language to enciphered Latin or artful nonsense. Marginalia, choir shuffles, and missing folios complicate every organized theory. Each new solution unravels quickly under cross-checks, yet curiosity only deepens. Easter Island, Moai: How were the giants really moved? Stone giants stand watch on Rapa Nui, backs to the sea. Quarries at Rano Raraku show half-carved statues frozen mid-extraction forever. Experimental archaeologists walk replicas using ropes, rocking side to side carefully. Others demonstrate sledges, rollers, and log rails across volcanic terrain thoughtfully. Platforms, or ahu, receive moai with red pukao topknots from elsewhere. Petroglyphs, roadbeds, and ramps hint at coordinated labor and ritual calendars. Environmental strain, deforestation, and rats complicate collapse stories and survival narratives. Rapa Nui oral histories describe ancestral mana guiding statues with reverence. The statue's movement blends physics, teamwork, and a community's spiritual heartbeat. Nazca lines, sacred pathways, water maps, or alien runways. Across Peru's desert, giant geoglyphs stretch beyond ground-level vision lines. Trapezoids, hummingbirds, and monkeys appear etched into the pampas crust. Maria Rika measures angles, proposing astronomical alignments and seasonal markers patiently. Hydrologists read pathways towards puquios, ancient spiral wells feeding parched valleys. Pilgrimage theories imagine ritual walks, offerings, and community-wide processions annually. The desert's dry climate preserves shallow cuts made by organized teams. Drone surveys reveal superimposed lines, corrections, and evolving artistic decisions. Skeptics dismiss alien runways, noting gradients, stones, and hillside viewpoints. Nazca's mystery shrinks under mapping, yet still invites slow, respectful steps. Atlantis, lost Bronze Age city or pure myth? A drowned superpower enters conversation through Plato's dialogues and storytelling. He locates Atlantis beyond the Pillars of Hercules, then catastrophe strikes. Some point to Santorini's eruption, reshaping Minoan networks and memories. Others chase Iberian marshes, Azores plateaus, or Caribbean seafloors ambitiously. Archaeologists warn about confirmation bias and pattern-seeking across unrelated ruins. The Aegean's trade hubs, palaces, and frescoes offer tangible, complex realities. Egyptian, Hittite, and Mycenaean archives outline networks without mythical empires. Meanwhile, divers find ports, quarries, and earthquake scars across Mediterranean coastlines. The legend persists because disaster, pride, and ocean depths pair convincingly. Trojan War, mythic epic, or a real historical conflict. A wooden horse rolls from poetry into trenches at Hisarlik. Heinrich Schliemann digs boldly, mixing discovery with damaging excavation practices. Later, archaeologists refine layers, dating walls, fires, and weapons more carefully. Hittite tablets mention Wilusa and Ahiyawa, sounding like Ilios and Achaeans. Mycenaean pottery shards and arrowheads connect Anatolia to Greek palatial networks. Homer compresses centuries, heroes, and battles into a single dramatic siege. Scholars debate multiple conflicts versus one legendary, unforgettable campaign. The Troad's landscape still yields slingstones, ramparts, and gates gradually. Between bard songs and burnt strata, a plausible war keeps flickering. Sphinx age debate, rain erosion clues, or overstated claims. A lion-bodied guardian faces east, stirring clocks backward in imaginations. Geologist Robert Schock points to weathering patterns resembling rainfall erosion. Mainstream Egyptologists date construction to Khafre's reign, matching enclosure quarries nearby. Tool marks, causeways, and adjacent temples support the standard dynastic timeline. Proponents suggest an older nucleus recarved from a natural limestone knob. Counterarguments cite wind erosion, salts, and variable strata across the enclosure. Restoration records show patching, brick buttressing, and filled fissures through centuries. Satellite and 3D scans deports proportions, alignments, and later recut features. The Sphinx absorbs theories like sand, then keeps staring at sunrise. Oak Island Money Pit, cursed treasure hunt or sunk cost? Nova Scotia's Oak Island swallows shovels, pumps, and fortunes repeatedly. Early diggers report booby traps, coconut fibers, and flooded shafts mysteriously just as. Stories mention pirate caches, Templar relics, or secret documents buried carefully. Flood tunnels allegedly linked to Smith's Cove with clever box drains. Boreholes hit wood layers, metal fragments, and suspicious voids under pressure. Skeptics see natural sinkholes, old piers, and ambition reinforcing narratives. Maps, journals, and syndicates change hands across centuries, extending the chase. Modern drills extract core samples, anomaly charts, and television-ready cliffhangers. The pit gives just enough splinters to invite another expensive week. Antikythera mechanism, ancient astronomical computer, or something else. Bronze gears corroded by seawater reveal unexpected ancient precision engineering. Greek sponge divers find the shipwreck near Antikythera around the 20th century. CT scans uncover differential gearing, inscriptions, and eclipse prediction dials. Scholars reconstruct calendars for Metonic and Saros cycles with elegance. Front and back panels track lunar phases with a shifting, realistic anomaly. Fragments suggest pointers for games, festivals, and celestial risings across Greece. Workshops in Rhodes or Corinth become candidates for the maker's lineage. The device collapses the gap between artisanship and theoretical astronomy brilliantly. Its broken teeth still move minds toward workshops we barely understand. Philadelphia experiment, Navy invisibility test, or urban legend. A destroyer supposedly vanishes in Philadelphia, then reappears with horrors. The story emerges from letters claiming secret wartime field experiments. USS Eldridge becomes the ship at the center of allegations. Navy logs place the vessel elsewhere during claimed test dates. Witness accounts contradict, morph, and multiply as retellings gain theatrical momentum. Physicists explain magnetic fields and radar camouflage versus science fiction teleportation. Shipyard workers recall mundane welding arcs mistaken for something extraordinary. Document trails point to hoaxes, misremembered schedules, and confabulated timelines. The legend survives because impossible claims stick better than corrections. Crop circles, clever pranksters, natural forces, or unseen designers. Perfect circles bloom overnight in English barley, inviting late-night whispers. In the 1990s, artists confessed using planks, ropes, and careful surveying. Some formations show bent nodes. Researchers argue heat or growth responses. Farmers tolerate tourists, drone pilots, and trampled yields with mixed patience. Complex geometric layouts escalate, matching mathematics and art school ambitions spectacularly. Night watchers film lights, foxes, and teams sneaking across hedgerows occasionally. Soil tests, compass swings, and radiation meters invite debate and skepticism. Cultural spillover turns patterns into album covers, postcards, and village festivals. The fields keep resetting at harvest, ready for next summer's arguments. Chemtrails theory, just jet contrails or covert sky spraying? White streaks spread across blue skies, and rumors spread even faster. Meteorologists describe contrails, ice crystals from hot engines meeting cold air. Persistent trails depend on humidity, temperature, and winds aloft during flights. Satellite images show busy corridors where air traffic naturally concentrates lanes. Analyses of collected samples usually show ordinary dust, pollen, and pollution. Airline maintenance, fuel logistics, and secrecy hurdles strain covert spraying scenarios severely. Photos of ballast barrels are misread test equipment for weight distribution. Public agencies publish flight tracks and weather soundings explaining day-long persistence. The simplest explanation, ice and air, wins where physics meets open skies. HARP project, harmless research or hidden weather control machine. Antennas in Alaska become a magnet for electrified imagination worldwide. HAARP beams radio waves upward to study Earth's ionosphere and auroras. Engineers measure how charged layers bend, scatter, and reflect signals safely. Conspiracy claims package earthquakes, hurricanes, and mind control into dramatic headlines. Operational schedules, publications, and campus tours show ordinary research collaboration patterns. The facility transitions to the University of Alaska for continued studies. Pilots and ham operators monitor transmissions without mysterious side effects reported. Weather remains governed by oceans, sunlight, and messy atmospheric dynamics. HAARP's biggest effect is teaching radio students, not steering hurricanes anywhere. Points Nights, 1997. Military flares or a massive craft? Satch, Arizona residents look up and see a silent V crossing cities. On March evenings, calls flood Phoenix, Glendale, and Prescott dispatchers frantically. Some witnesses describe a single enormous craft blotting stars completely overhead. Hours later, videos capture hovering lights arranged along the Estrella foothills. Investigators link second sightings to military flares over a training range. Governor Fife Symington first jokes publicly, later admits witnessing something unusual. Astronomers explain perspective illusions, formation flights, and slow-burning illumination flares convincingly. Yet early reports of a moving V remain stubbornly intriguing. Testimonies: Phoenix keeps two timelines, one formation moving, one flare line fading. Patterson-Gimlin film, Man in a Suit or Sasquatch? A figure strides along Bluff Creek, swinging arms with surprising rhythm. Roger Patterson films. Bob Gimlin rides back up near the creekbed sandbar. The subject's proportions, gait, and turning head fueled decades of debates. Skeptics cite costume seams, shoulder pads, and footprints planted ahead. Supporters measure limb ratios from frames, arguing non-human mass and movement. Alleged confessions of suit-wearing appear, then falter under cross-examination difficulties. Plaster casts display dermal ridges that experts dispute or dismiss cautiously. Terrain reconstructions align tree trunks, stumps, and camera distances for modeling. Each stabilized frame adds clarity, yet never an unmistakable smoking gun. Kecksburg UFO incident. Meteor, secret satellite, or something stranger? An acorn-shaped fireball races over Pennsylvania, then woods fill with sirens. December 1965 reports describe a controlled descent and a glowing object. Residents see troops, cordons, and a tarped flatbed departing after midnight. Journalists chase leads about a bell-like craft marked with strange symbols. Astronomers favor a meteor bolide, others suggest a failed Soviet probe. Timing conflicts with Cosmos 96, leaving plausible meteor explanations dominant. Witness memories drift as years pass, complicating exact routes and handling. TV reenactments and festivals keep the legend alive each winter. Kecksburg sits between streaking physics and tightly wrapped military logistics. Wow! Signal, alien transmission, or terrestrial radio interference. A 72-second spike jumps from noise on Ohio's Big Ear telescope. In August 1977, the narrowband tone fits "it looks artificial" expectations. Astronomer Jerry Eamon circles the data, birthing the nickname almost accidentally. Follow-up scans hear nothing. The signal never repeats from that direction. Comet explanations appear decades later, then face counter-arguments about observed frequencies. Other possibilities include satellites, reflections, or rare Earth-based transmissions. Briefly, search programs widen bandwidths, arrays, and algorithms for transient candidates worldwide. Catalogs now track one-off techno-signature hints without confirmation. Yet, that little burst endures because absence of repeats keeps imaginations balanced. Salem witch trials, poisoned rye theory, or pure hysteria. Executions scar Massachusetts towns, while accusations multiply across church pews. In 1692, Samuel Village hears spectral evidence and confession cascades. Children's fits, Neighborhood feuds and land disputes intertwine with sermons. Magistrates admit spectral testimony, lowering the bar for conviction dangerously. Ergot poisoning theories suggest hallucinations from rye fungus during damp seasons. Historians emphasize politics, frontier wars, and stress fueling scapegoats tragically. Later, apologies and compensation attempt repair after court procedures collapse. Memorials in Salem and Danvers name victims, replacing rumors with remembrance. The trials linger because fear speaks louder than reason during crises. Noah's Ark on Ararat, misidentified geology or genuine find? Photos of boat-shaped ridges near Ararat ignite worldwide coverage periodically. Expeditions hike moraines, lava flows, and landslides under rapidly changing weather. Darupanar formation measurements suggest natural folding, not ancient ship timbers carefully waked. Claims of petrified wood usually test as ordinary rock with inclusions. Local guides recount sightings from snow years, then details shift later. Ground-penetrating radar images are ambiguous, inviting hopeful interpretations and doubts. Archaeologists ask for verifiable timbers, fittings, or cultural layers nearby. Satellite archives show seasonal melt patterns creating convincing shapes from distance. Ararat keeps its myth by staying steep, cold, and logistically difficult. King Tut's curse. Coincidence, bacteria, or a deadly legend? A patron dies after a tomb opens, and headlines write themselves. In 1922, Howard Carter reveals Tutankhamun's sealed chambers at Luxor. Lord Carnarvon's death soon after fuels superstition across fascinated newspapers. Statistics comparing visitors and deaths undermine the supernatural pattern dramatically. Scientists point to mold spores, pathogens, or desert ailments affecting health. Artifacts travel to museums under strict conservation, quarantines, and monitoring regimes. Diaries record drafts, candles, and cramped corridors during long excavation seasons. Egypt's Antiquities Service catalogs amulets, chariots, and shrines with meticulous care. The curse survives because mystery sells faster than measured probabilities. Shakespeare authorship question: Oxford, Bacon, or the Bard? Plays tower over English literature, yet doubts nip at the signature. Edward de Vere emerges as a favorite in alternative authorship circles. Francis Bacon and Christopher Marlowe also appear in rotating candidate lists. Stylometry compares word patterns, function words, and collocations across corpora. Handwriting in Hand D links a manuscript fragment to Shakespeare cautiously. Legal records, property deals, and theater partnerships place him inside London's scene. Stratford funerary monuments and First Folio testimonies anchor conventional attribution strongly. Supporters of alternates read coded messages in dedications and emblems hopefully. The stage stays crowded, but the Stratford man keeps center spotlight.